Hi, Mayuresh. Great to have you here.
Same here. Nice to see you again.
Mayuresh, before we begin, can you tell us about your role at Secureworks, please?
My name is Mayuresh Kothari, and I'm a global solution lead at Secureworks, specializing or focusing on XDR or extended detection and response. I've been in this role for about 8 months now. Before that, I was an SME. So beginning of this year, I sort of got promoted to cover the globe when it comes to XDR and complex XDR engagements.
Right. So now let's come to the topic that everyone in the security industry is talking about now, XDR. Mayuresh, why is XDR gaining so much traction today, and what are security teams actually interested in when it comes to XDR?
Right. So XDR is gaining traction for the simple reason that it is trying to address, or it's a way to address some of the legacy problems that security teams have been facing and not getting the optimal solution for it from the technologies that are in place. So let me put that in perspective. If we just look at the term XDR, which means extended detection and response, it is aimed to extend a team's ability to detect and respond to threats outside of what was traditionally looked at as the main focus area, which is the endpoint. So XDR aims to extend that from endpoint outwards to network and cloud, which is, yes, one important aspect, but that's just a very simplified definition of XDR. What the aim of XDR as not just a technology platform, but a solution is to give back the efficiency to the teams, so security teams in question. Improve their response times when it comes to responding to threats. Just like the physical world, right? If we are able to diagnose a problem, a physical problem or an illness for a patient, we are able to then provide medication and therefore help that person far more quicker. The longer the diagnosis takes, the more adverse effect it may have on that person, right? So that's one of the primary aims of XDR also when it comes to cybersecurity. And the other thing is that traditional security tools unintentionally became very siloed. They were not intended to be used in collaboration. For the longest time, IT teams were segregated into, endpoint team, network team, SOC team, threat team, and so many teams. But when it came to collaborating together, the legacy tools, so to speak, were not very good at that. So XDR is also aimed for helping in that collaboration. And then the last thing that the XDR is doing, which is sort of feeding the hype, so to speak, is the ability to use cutting edge technologies of today. So incorporate cloud, which gives economies of scale, use AI and machine learning in the right and optimal manner to make the job of decision making easier. I don't think AI or machine learning is going to replace humans at any point of time in the near future, but it does make the job of humans much, much easier. And that's what XDR is also aiming for.
Great. Now, everyone's asking the same question. Is XDR the same as EDR? What's different? Tell us.
So it goes back to my definition of XDR, right? We are trying to extend the detection and response from the endpoint outwards to network and cloud, right? So therefore EDR is an important component of XDR, but it shouldn't be the whole and soul of the solution itself or the platform itself. So which is why XDR needs to be able to not just look at the EDR telemetry or feeds, so to speak, but also look at network. Also look at cloud. I mean, cloud has seen a big explosion in adoption, be it because COVID sort of came into picture and a lot of organizations had to pivot from an on-prem physical resources to cloud, but also because it's the future. It's going to bring efficiencies that were unheard of. It will help organizations to use their finances and their budgets much more efficiently. And therefore, XDR, with so much dependence on cloud adoption, XDR needs to have a visibility on that also. So that's what it is. It's not just endpoint, it's network, cloud, and any other thing that is necessary for making security operations effective.
Right. So tell us, do XDR and SIEM work together? Are the outcomes different?
That's a very good question. And for a large set of professionals in IT and IT security, XDR and SIM sometimes becomes overlapping and sometimes become sort of confrontational. And the reason for that is the traditional approach to security monitoring or SOC has been very dependent on SIM. And SIM started as a data management platform, right? There were alerts coming in, and the best way to look at that data was to visualize it. Because at that time, the number of security tools were not that much. However, as time progressed, SIM themselves became more of a compliance tool to report on what is happening, what is not happening, identify anomalies in a visual way, and then report on to them. However, XDR is aimed at, the core focus of XDR is always detection and response. So it may not always align with the core aim of what a SIM or the SIM deployment might be. This doesn't mean that SIM and XDR cannot coexist. I think they are perfect partners today, because on one side of things, security of the SOC itself, security teams want better detection and response capabilities, collaboration, all the great stuff that we talked about in the beginning. But on the other side of the same SOC and the reporting hierarchy that we have, leadership and management want better visibility, reporting. There are compliance frameworks that need to be adhered to. There are regional law requirements which need to be adhered to and which have to be reported. On top of that, there is always the audit pressure, be it internal or external. And SIM is the perfect tool to satisfy the audit requirements. So therefore, a combination of an XDR and a SIM is a great team for the SOC to sort of use for addressing their day-to-day operational issues, their strategic goals of threat detection and response, as well as any of their compliance requirements as they arise.
Now, for organizations that are exploring the market for an XDR solution, what are the key elements that they should look out for?
Again, that's a great question, because I feel today that when it comes to cybersecurity buying, it's more difficult to buy a cybersecurity solution than it is to sell. For the simple reason that cybersecurity or security as a whole is the most fragmented market today, where there are so many solutions to look for, be it in individual technologies like firewalls, WAPs, etc., but also the core strategic technologies like XDR. So that's a great question. So some of the things that organizations need to focus on is, like I said earlier, threat detection and the ability to identify what is bad versus what is good is the core requirement of XDR platform. Other things, yes, response capabilities, being able to collaborate, yes, these are also equally important, but the core central theme is detection, right? Being able to identify what is bad. So that should be the primary criteria. How good is the ability to detect? And whoever is developing that platform, what is it that they are doing to continue enhancing that detection capability? So these are some of the things or questions that need to be asked when someone is looking or exploring the XDR solution landscape. The second thing is also how open that XDR platform is, because in today's day and age, we cannot expect to be tied down to a single set of technology, right? Especially in IT landscape. Because the need of the hour, regional requirements, application level requirements, team-based requirements want us to be flexible, allow us to take decisions on the basis of that are not tied down to a single technology set. And if the XDR platform that is intended to detect threats on these underlying technologies, if that is tied down to a particular set of tools, then it becomes difficult for that platform to be effective. So that's the second thing. It should be an open XDR platform. It needs to be able to integrate with as many things as possible. It should have open APIs for collaboration and all of that. That's the second thing. And the third thing, and probably one of the more important aspects today, because of the way XDR is being adopted, is the service element. Because a lot of organizations may not be well equipped or may have enough people or resources to manage or maintain or use that XDR platform on their own. So they need to have a service that's wrapped around the platform itself. And they need to be able to identify the service provider who has experience, the ability to look at other things as well as the pedigree to deliver a high value, high quality service to them. And if these are the three primary criteria that organizations look for, they would eventually come to a good decision.
Now, tell us about the Tejas XDR solution from Secureworks. What's different here and what's the USP?
Right. So the solution itself has its sort of founding principle of that solution was way before XDR as a term was coined. So our then CTO was looking at trying to solve the age-old problem of how managed security services providers can be more relevant to organizations while staying current and ahead of threats. So we looked at a more collaborative approach. So instead of defense in depth, he coined the term defense in concert, right? And that was the thought process behind the XDR platform. So when we created and when we started this platform, it was named threat detection and response. So we were not very far away from what the industry was looking at, because maybe a year or two later, when the term itself was coined XDR, we were not very far away from it. Now, Tejas XDR is combining some of the best things that we have seen and we deliver today to our customers with the tools and technologies that are available to us today. So what I mean by that? So first and foremost, Secureworks has been a leader when it comes to delivering managed security services. So we have taken all our experiences of what is good, what is bad, what is efficient, and what is it that our customers want. So we have 5,000 plus customers, right, which we have acquired over the past 21 years. So we understand what is it that they are looking for. And therefore, we've incorporated that in the tool, not as a service, but build that into the tool to bring in efficiencies. So our first thing is that. The second approach that we take is also the detection bit, which I said is very important when it comes to making a decision on what XDR platform to use. So again, we go back to our, what we are good at, our threat intelligence and our incident response. These are some of the strongest teams that we have inside Secureworks. And they have been doing that very, very well for the last so many years. So what we have done is we have taken the learnings of our threat intelligence, we have taken our incident response teams learnings, and we have combined it into the platform so that whoever is using that platform, they don't have to worry about ingesting what is good, what is bad, tuning the platform to make the right decisions, because at the end of the day, that's not their job. For example, if organizations were good in identifying what are the threats out there, how do they behave, and then creating countermeasures or ability to detect them, they wouldn't need vendors like us or anyone for that matter. They could do all of these things in-house. So we want to take that pain, right? That pressure of being able to continuously tune the tool and platform, and that's what we do on behalf of the customers. Whether they have our service or whether they're just using the tool, they will always have that assurance that the threat detection capability will be the foremost in our mind. And here again, we employ the technologies available to us. Obviously, cloud is what gives us the ability to scale, but also using AI and machine learning. Now, how we use that? So for example, in order to make a decision of what is good and bad, and this is, I'm not even talking about cybersecurity, I'm looking at the core principles of data science and machine learning, right? If we are to teach a machine to make the same decisions as a human would do, and that's what machine learning is required for, right? Or AI is called, to make the same decisions as a human would, we need to teach that AI algorithm or that AI software. Now, in order to do that, we need to be able to give it a learning set. This is good, this is bad, and this is in between. Now, the principles of data science say that the bigger this data set is, the more efficient the learning would be. Now imagine this, we've got 20 years of data to feed to these machine learning algorithms, which makes it very, very efficient to give least number of false positives. And this data is fed continuously to these machine learning algorithms to keep them up to date every day. So that makes it very, very relevant in today's day and age when threat actors are also trying to be one step ahead of the security providers. So we have to be on our toes all the time. And this is what the technology tool allows us to do. So that's what differentiate stages a lot. How we have built the tool on the basis of our learnings from the past 20 years, and then how we take those learnings and apply it in the form of what is actionable, what makes sense, what makes it relevant to security teams. And plus we continue delivering the service. So our service excellence continues to be there. Our SOC teams are some of the best in the world, if not the best. And our incident response team continue to be the best IR guys across the globe. So that ensures that we deliver that high quality of service.
Right. I wish we could go on for longer, but we're running out of time. So Mayuresh, that was very insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you, Mayuresh.
Pleasure. It was pleasure to talk to you, Anita, and hope we can do this again sometime.